Fast, focused, and fearless. Here's everything you need to know as you jumpstart your day. I'm Pauline Verzosa. Gilas Pilipinas is moving to the semifinals of the FIBA Olympic qualifying tournament despite losing to Georgia last night. Georgia was leading the game at the first half of the match, but Gilas eventually took over thanks to Dwight Ramos. Georgia and Gilas tried to outpace one another until the end, but the nail-biting match concluded in favor of Georgia 96-94. But because the European country was not in lead of at least 19 points, Gilas Pilipinas is still up for the last spot in the Olympics.
Looking forward, we're still in the race. We're still looking forward to going to Paris, and now it's do or die for us. So now we got to play our best basketball, and there's no more room for error. But again, I'm proud of the guys for sticking it out and handling the adversity that came in today's game. And of course, we still got so much more to give.
Still in sports, Alas Pilipinas will begin their quest on the FIVB Women's Volleyball Challenger Cup later today. They will first face perennial Southeast Asian contender Vietnam at 6:30 p.m. Only one of the 8 participating countries will advance for a spot in the prestigious Volleyball Nations League next year. However, Alas Pilipinas will flaunt a different lineup with Cherry Nunag playing as libero, far from her natural position as a middle blocker. The team will also have some key additions with Bella Belen and Gemma Galanza at the left wing. Other members are Faith Nisperos, Fifi Sharma, Vanny Gandler, Julia Coronel, Angel Canino, Del Palomata, Ara Panique, Thea Gagate, and Cici Rondina. President Joe Biden is under pressure to prove he's ready for another term. His campaign and White House staff are working hard to manage the situation, addressing concerns about his debate performance and shutting down rumors that he might step aside for another Democratic candidate. Here's the report.
Nearly a week after this election year's first presidential debate,
he's the worst president in the history of our country. What are you talking about? You have the morals of an alley cat.
President Joe Biden can't seem to live his debate performance down.
Hi. Is President Biden considering stepping down?
Absolutely not.
For the second day in a row, the White House held a briefing to explain Biden's debate performance and dispel claims that Biden is contemplating quitting the race. The team claimed Biden's debate performance was a result of being jet-lagged from his travel schedule, and they said he had a cold on debate day.
It was a bad night. We understand that it was a bad night. And the president has spoken to this. And he understands that.
Biden himself conceded at a rally Friday that he is up in age.
I know I'm not a young man. I don't debate as well as I used to.
And while politicians on both sides of the aisle have called for him to step aside,
I think everyone can see the objective fact that we have been discussing here for a long, long time, that President Biden is not up to the job.
The president and the vice president met with Democratic governors Wednesday. In a post-meeting press conference, governor spokespersons representing the governors said they stick beside him.
The president is our nominee. The president is our party leader. And the president has told us, and he was very clear back there, that he is in this to win this.
I'm Sherelle Hubbard reporting.
Political analyst Richard Haydarian says U.S. Democrats may be forced to look for their alternative presidential bet. Here's an excerpt from his interview on Storycon.
I think Trump has a greater chance. Wag mo nang pantayin yung mga surveys. Ikaw lang, personally, basa mo. Will Trump, fearless forecast, meron ba? May pag-asa ba? Manalo. November.
I think Trump, maybe Trump did too well. Although, of course, if you paid attention to some of the things he said, you're not sure. But I think he said he just did too well. So ngayon, baka ma-replace talaga si Biden. I think there's a very, probably the probability is more than 50% na Kamala Harris or someone else might step in. Because it's going to be very hard. Biden, he makes one more mistake, I think it's over. It will be almost impossible for him to sustain it. And so the polls are very worrying. And we see that behind the scenes, even Obama and other Democratic stalwarts are suggesting baka we have to look at alternatives now. So maybe Trump Pyrrhic victory ang nangyari dito. Maybe he's now gonna force the Democrats to come up with an alternative, much younger, much more vigorous, and much more competitive.
Pero di ba magmumukhang
Kaya
kulilat yung mga
embarrassed nga daw
Democrats
mga
if they pull out at
Amerikano
this
nga,
point?
4th of July. They're embarrassed about their country.
Battle of the aged daw, sabi nila, Battle of the aged. No, I mean, I'm still recovering from that debate. Alam ni Patrick yan. But very interesting times. I think a lot of fluidity there. Kaya nga tayo mga Pilipino, wag lang tayong umaasa ng anong gusto ng Amerika. Isipin din natin ang maganda sa ating national interest. We have no territorial maritime disputes with Russia. I condemn what happened in Ukraine, but I think we have to have reasonable relationship with all major powers, not only the United States.
Okay. Which we're seeing India doing, right, Richard?
Which is India doing, which is what Vietnam is doing. I think India is even a more interesting case because they're a democracy like us, right? So mas nakaka-relate ako sa India kaysa Vietnam because Vietnam is a communist country. So I think India is showing the way that for democracies like us, we can have very good relationship with the US. We are a democracy, but that should not prevent us from multi-alignment, meaning having reasonable relationship with many powers. Now, of course, unlike India, we are a treaty ally. So even may limitations yan. But as I said, it shouldn't be like level 10 Duterte and then 0. Why not level 4 out of 10?
We'll be back with more stories after the break. Keep it here on One News. You're still watching One News Now. I'm Pauline Verzosa. Let's now take a quick look at today's other headlines. The armed forces is stepping up its fight against disinformation amid fake news on the West Philippine Sea issue. According to a Philippine Star report, the AFP will launch its new communication plan called Mulat. This aims to counter false narratives and information on the internet that undermine the Philippines' sovereignty. And in business world, the government's outstanding debt rose to a fresh high of 15.35 trillion pesos as of end May. That's a 2.2% increase from end April and 8.4% up from a year ago. This reflects the impact of the peso weakness on foreign currency denominated debt. Senator Nancy Binay is considering filing an ethics complaint against Senator Alan Peter Cayetano after their heated exchange in the Senate on Wednesday. Binay condemned Cayetano for calling her buang during the Senate hearing on the new Senate building project. She is also not expecting her colleague to apologize to her. Recall that Binay walked out of the Senate hearing after disputing with Cayetano about the price of the new Senate building project. Binay called out Cayetano for comparing their hearing to palengke or market.
Ewan ko kung ano ibig sabihin niya ng palengke. Parang dinidimin niya ba yung mga nagtitinda sa palengke na may certain asal yung mga nagtatrabaho sa palengke na hindi katanggap-tanggap kasi parang bakit niya sinabi yung palengkera.
Meanwhile, Senate President Cheese Escudero insisted that the hearing on the project has no malice.
23 billion is too much for a government building. Layunin ko i-review ito, mapababa ito. Hindi namin layunin, habulin, akusahan o siraan sino man dito.
The Education Department admitted that it is struggling to find 4,400 guidance counselors needed for schools nationwide. In order to be hired as a guidance counselor, one must complete a master's degree and pass a licensure exam. Based on the latest government data, there are only 251 graduates of Masters in Guidance and Counseling programs. This is considered as a huge blow to the department's efforts in addressing the rising number of bullying cases in schools. Despite ongoing challenges with deforestation, the Philippine Eagle Foundation continues its conservation efforts to protect and increase the population of our national bird. Recently, they released a pair of haribons back into the wild in Leyte, the first pair to return to the province since their disappearance in 2013. Mobile Journal, R.R. Tubise has the story.
Gumawa ng kasaysayan ng Philippine Eagle Foundation matapos silang magpakawala ng isang pares ng agila sa kauna-unahang pagkakataon sa labas ng Mindanao.
Iba talaga.
Ito sina Uswag at Carlito, dalawang Philippine Eagle na matagumpay na pinakawalan sa kagubatan ng Burawen sa Leyte. Pareho silang rescue eagles. Ang misyon ng Philippine Eagle Foundation ay muling ibalik ang populasyon ng mga agila sa isla. Naubos kasi ang populasyon ng ibong ito sa probinsya matapos ang hagupit ng bagyong Yolanda noong 2013. Kinabitan si Uswag at Carlito ng GPS trackers para patuloy silang mamonitor. Pero bago sila pakawalan, siniguro muna ng Philippine Eagle Foundation na may makakain sila sa kagubatan, gaya ng mga unggoy, ahas at mga maliliit na hayop. Kinailangan din nilang alamin kung may sapat bang mga puno kung saan pwedeng mag-nesting ang dalawa.
Yung willingness ng mga local communities to help. Kailangan siguraduhin natin na itong mga eagles na i-release natin ay hindi babarilin. Inabot ng 10 taon yung preparations before na-release itong mga Philippine eagles na to. Tinignan din ang genetic diversity ng mga Philippine eagles and lumalabas na pwede nating ilipat-lipat yung mga Philippine eagles from Luzon to Mindanao, Mindanao to Luzon, Mindanao to Leyte, Mindanao to Samar.
Hindi raw talaga biro ang pagpaparami ng Philippine eagle sa bansa. Bukod kasi sa pagiging monogamous, minsan sa isang taon lang mangitlog ang mga agila. Ang bawat pares nito, kailangan din daw magkaroon ng 7,000 hectares on average na teritoryo. Kaya importante ang pagtatanim ng maraming puno.
Right. Well, sa wild, we found out that mataas ang breeding success ng mga Philippine eagles natin. Sa bawat 10 pares ng agila na nag-breed sa isang season, mabubuhay dyan ang 8 eaglets, no? Meaning walang problema ang mga wild eagles sa breeding. Pero ang challenge niyan is itong mga eaglets mo, kapag umalis na sila sa territory ng kanilang magulang at gumala na sila, dyan sila maaaring mabarel.
Sa ngayon, meron daw 36 Philippine Eagles in captivity. Sa wild naman, aabot sa 392 pairs ang mga ito. Pero sa kabila ng maraming pagsubok sa pagpaparami ng ating pambansang ibon, iisa lang daw ang dahilan kung bakit kailangan pa ring ipagpatuloy ito.
It's a moral obligation and we owe it to this species. No? They're innocent animals. So overall, protecting the eagles, no, as a flagship, as an umbrella species for healing nature is very important.
Ang agila, simbolo ng lakas at kalayaan. Pero magiging malaya at malakas lang sila kung magtutulungan tayo para sila ay maprotektahan. Mobile journalist RR Tubise po, hatid ang mukha ng balita.
And those are the top stories of the hour. Join us later at 9 a.m. as we continue to monitor the day's biggest stories. I'm Pauline Verzosa. We are One News.